think performance-wise, I think it was very good. You know, arguably one of the best I think we've played since I've been here. I thought that we controlled the game. Bearing in mind, we knew we were going into a situation where the game was going to mean a lot to them for different reasons for us. And the fact that obviously the manager was going to be leaving, we knew it was going to be, I wouldn't necessarily say hostile, but it was like a sort of carnival atmosphere for them as far as that's concerned. But I thought we completely took that away from them. I thought that we quietened the crowd down really early. I thought that we controlled the game, controlled the ball, created numerous chances, and just didn't convert as many chances in that first opening period as we should have. I think then to concede the goal was extremely frustrating, considering our dominance. But I thought a reaction to that goal was excellent. You know, we straight up the pitch, get the next goal, and then I was really convinced for there we were going to go on and win comfortably. We then get the second goal, which I thought was more than merited. It was a great header. But again, we sort of shot ourselves in the foot, shall we say, towards the later end of the game. And yeah, listen, football's an emotional game, isn't it? You know, when you play as well as we played throughout the match, you know and you understand in the Championship, having had numerous games at this level, that you need to make that count, you know, and I think that's where my frustration came in.
You change your shape on Wednesday night, and I guess you have to adapt a little bit game to game. It's not like you can just set out of a consistent shape game to game, albeit that would be the ideal for you.
Yeah, I think Huddersfield in the previous two matches that I watched them were extremely effective in what they did. You know, they turned the ball from back to front, they end up with 4 in your last line, which means you're 1 for 1, and all it means is somebody loses a header, you're straight in and goal, or you naturally tighten up, so then they get outside you and they flood their box with crosses and they get a lot of bodies in there. I think having an extra man behind the ball in that game certainly stemmed that flow and allowed us to make sure that when we did go and compete, there was always somebody else sweeping round, and it allowed us also to control the ball more, because they want to press you and go 1 for 1. When you put a back three in your back line, they find that really difficult to do. So from our perspective, in terms of how we set up for the last game, I was really pleased with that. It was just these sort of key moments that we needed to make sure we got on the right side of. I think our performances in the main this season have been good. Now, people can argue there's maybe a 20-minute spell here and a 30-minute spell there. That's going to happen. But I don't think there's been any real game where we've come away and we've been completely outplayed. I think the one I was probably most disappointed in performance-wise was probably Ipswich. You know, I thought that they looked like a team that had been together for 12 months, had been functioning well. There wasn't a lot of changes to their sort of line-up. And I thought that we looked like a team that day that had been basically put together in the last couple of weeks. But I think since then, I think that we've been gelling and bonding a hell of a lot better. I think that we're getting to the stage now where a lot of our general plays at a really good level. And I think it's just the sort of little grey areas just now that we need to sort of brush up on that hopefully can make the difference.
You mentioned changes there. You handed a full debut to Sir Stanley on Wednesday night. What did you make of his performance? Excellent.
But I think we're still at the stage now, 7 games into the season, that we're giving people their sort of debut, shall we say. I think shows where we are and the changes that we've had to endure. Also losing some of the lads who have featured in that first 3 or 4 matches, losing them for obviously the last 3 or 4 games hasn't helped. But I thought Syed was excellent in the game. I thought technically he was excellent. I think you could see probably the couple of occasions where he wriggles away and chops at the edge of the box. I think we maybe a little bit more sharpness, a little bit more game time. I think he certainly hits the target, and maybe even slows one of them at the far corner, because he's got real quality. So we're really excited to work with him this season and hopefully beyond that.
It's a quick turnaround now to Sunday's game against Hull. What do you expect from Hull City?
Tough game. You know, I think they've got the bulk of the squad's being together. I think they've made some really good additions, you know, at the top end of the pitch mainly. And yeah, I think they've started the season really well. They've got a method in how they play. And I think that they've got a good understanding between the squad and the players and the pitch, where they can stay in games. You know, I watched the Norwich game, and although Norwich won the game, I think in the 96th minute, I thought Norwich were really good in the game. I thought they created a lot of chances. But Hull, they stuck in there. You know, they're hard to break down, they're hard to beat, and they've got players that can hurt you going the other way. So yeah, it's going to be a tough match, like they all are in the Championship for different reasons. Yeah, listen, I think that we want to obviously come back, put a really good performance on, get a good win, get the fans behind the team. I understand this little spell's been a bit of a frustrating period in terms of results, but I think performances have been there. I don't think we're far away, and hopefully with just a little bit more consistency and a little bit more sort of cutting edge, that we can sort of find the answers that we need to make sure we try and win the game.
You mentioned that bit of frustration there. We do see it from you on the side when little things go wrong on the pitch, but I guess that's Because you guys, you really care about this.
Yeah, listen, when you're a manager, you don't really think about everything out with, if that makes sense. You live and breathe in this, basically, as training centre. And it's not really your job, because when you do something that you're passionate about, it's not a job, it's not a chore. Do you know what I mean? I love it. Do you know what I mean? It's what I do, it's what I've been doing now for over a decade. And I don't care what anybody says. When people say, do you take it home with you? You can't help but take it home with you. It lives with you 24/7. And ultimately, my life, as I'm sure a lot of the staff's lives, are dictated by results. Do you know what I mean? Because when you win, everything's fine. And it's not as if you're buzzing about thinking, oh, this is great. It's just okay, everything's fine. It's when you're losing or you're not picking up points you should be, then that frustration, yeah, it's difficult. Do you know what I mean? But it's part and parcel of the job, and it's something you need to cope with, and then you need to make sure you try and come in the next day and be really positive for the players and get them going.
And Sunday is the third game of a period of 7 in 21 days. What's that like for the group to, I guess, to prepare for games, and how do you sort of approach a period like that?
Yeah, it's going to be tough mentally and physically, particularly the fact that a lot of these lads are not used to the Championship. So this is a league that some of them are not really that familiar with, so they're coming to it for the first time. I think this is the spells and the periods that are really going to test us. And the fact that there's very little recovery. You need to travel. I think we're actually going to be staying down in Bournemouth for a few days as well, just to try and break it up and make sure that we're not having to sort of basically cart them up and back and forward throughout the country. But it's going to be a really intense spell, because the games come thick and fast. There's no time to dwell on the last game. You need to do the preparation for the next game and make sure mentally and physically you're as good a shape as you can be.
Is there an element of that that's pretty good for you, though, in the sense that you keep playing games, you keep going? That helps, I guess, with that cohesion element of the group.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'd much prefer more training time in between, so there's more repetition. Because every game in the Championship, albeit you're playing more games, they're all very different. So you're not repeating the same things as what you did in the last game. There's all slight variances, how they build, how they press, how they whatever. And you need to make sure that then we tweak what we need to do to make sure we can compensate for that, or balance for it, or try and exploit the areas that we think they're going to be weaker in. So there's always slight differences, and that's the challenge of the champ.